In the story work with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, the patients articulated the importance of knowing the facts about cancer and its effects on people and their entire well-being. We also heard about the many dimensions of healthy living in community, physical, mental, and spiritual, that can help prevent cancer and help with recovery from cancer. The doctors' and nurses' responses in the broker dialogue showed their desire to promote sharing knowledge about cancer and healthy living. The Dialogue and Story Work project used the broker dialogue methodology. This approach unleashed the power of sharing stories to help facilitate safe, meaningful, and respectful conversations between healthcare professionals and Indigenous communities. Cancer survivors, those still on their cancer journey, and caregivers came forward with the support of community champions to share their personal stories and talk about the challenges and barriers they experienced when transitioning through different levels of care. Healthcare professionals then watched the narratives and responded on video, giving their professional opinions and thoughts on the issues and concerns shared. The healthcare professionals' video responses were then brought back to participants to continue the dialogue. Participants had an opportunity to respond on video to the healthcare professionals, in turn closing the loop on the dialogue in a way that was supportive and meaningful to each participant.
It's very important for not just for the patient but for the families that are also very worried about that individual. Because whenever somebody has cancer, too bad. I think there's also a big need for people to be comforted by this information that you get beforehand.
So there again, and I was hearing things like from the past that once they do an operation, that cancer will spread. That's the scary part about it too as well. And I thought, well, with today's modern technology and the new medicines that they have, just the way they do things at the hospitals and the operating rooms, I thought about, well, it's going to be a lot different than from what it used to be. I know a lot of old people used to always say that don't get an operation, it'll spread on you. But today, the way things are, they're really careful about cancers being spread around in your body.
I have had some patients mention that that they didn't really want to talk about it or acknowledge it, because I think there's this misbelief in their communities that it's kind of like a curse or it's contagious.
Sometimes the elders say that you don't always give information. Sometimes it's best for people not to know. But I think in terms of cancer, I think the more knowledge, the better. I think that there are a lot of people that choose not to talk about it, that it's sort of still a bit of a taboo topic. And that only it makes our ignorance grow. And in terms of cancer and health diagnosis, ignorance, can take years, months, off your life.
I never tell anybody. When I came back, I don't have to. Just like after you catch it, just like you want to hide everything, That's the way you feel. And never say nothing.
Well, one of the things that struck me, maybe particularly in all of them, but the interview with Rosemary particularly, is just how there's such a difference sometimes in how we look at disease and how we look at cancer and treatment and what is important.
You need to respect everybody's backgrounds, and people from up north are different than people from down south. People from different, the Sioux are different than the Cree, the Cree are different from the Oji Cree, like the Ojibwe, there's all of these little differences. They're not all just Indigenous, painted with the same brush. So you have to, if you really want to know, you have to, go to each different community and different perspectives.
I think we should mitigate the fear of cancer. We should highlight the fact that people should pay attention to their bodies and not fear the diagnosis. For our Indigenous people in this public health knowledge to present themselves and self-advocate, not hesitate to present their symptoms and to interact with our healthcare providers on a free, comfortable level to mitigate their care.
And I tell them that you need to let go of your issues, otherwise it turns into a sickness of some kind. I seriously believe that. So I've learned to put a lot of negative stuff aside and just enjoy life. It's not always enjoyable, but you know, you can work through things and let go of a lot of garbage that we do carry.
But I'm happy that I'm still here, and I'm hoping to be here for a few more years yet. But well, up to the creator, I guess, and see how. But I like keeping busy and just volunteering for all kinds of stuff, and just to keep things going, moving, and to keep myself busy, because one of the drawbacks about having cancer is your employers don't like people who have cancer. I've been unemployed since 2007 because of this stupid cancer.
It took me about 3 to 5 years to fully recover, both mentally and physically, after I was told I was in remission. And I still deal with it today. It's still hard to talk about, as it brings up so much memories. Yeah, it's just, it still hurts.
And then, of course, men, it's really difficult for them to say, because men are supposed to be tough. Men are supposed to not cry. Mentally and audibly, he was silent. And I guess when he was hitting a low one time, he was driving across the Howelgate Bridge, and sometimes people use that as a quick way out when the pressure is too strong. He was ready to stop and walk back and take a jump because he wasn't sure the outcome of this cancer. So when I heard that, I told him, and even before I went into surgery, we have community members that really believe in prayer. And everywhere I go to attend functions in the area, people reassured me they were praying for him. And so I finally sat and talked with Ivan, and he said, you know what? I said, so many people care about you. And I don't think you should let them all down by giving up. He gave of himself a lot, yeah. So I'm very encouraged, and as people watch it, I hope they too will choose life, and that's the latest word that's been around lately, choose life rather than give up and not do anything.
It really affects your mental health when you're diagnosed with cancer. When you're going through chemo, we noticed that when a lot of clients were coming home, they were suicidal. They were, their bodies would be disconfigured, their bodies would be, they weren't how it used to be. The medications that they were on were making them bloat, making them have this emotional roller coaster. And so their mental health was affected that way, where they were coming home and they were very suicidal. They wanted to see mental health. They didn't understand what their bodies were going through, crying, just like a failure to thrive almost. They just didn't want to go on anymore.
In the interviews, it wasn't the physical stuff that patients talked about. It wasn't that. It was feeling alone, feeling scared, feeling burnt out, feeling angry. Didn't have information, wasn't sure what was going on. And so people talked very little about how this physically affected them. but they talked a lot about how they felt, and so I think people can go through a lot physically, but mentally and emotionally, it's harder to get over those battles.
We do have a department of psychosocial oncology. We have psychologists, we have social workers. Patients, when they see us, are given a questionnaire in which they are, one of the things we hope they do is identify if they're feeling distressed and they have needs that could be addressed through psychosocial oncology. And if we can determine that they really have a need, we will do our best to make sure that they hook up with someone who's going to help them.
So I think all about the good stuff and how to be brave for myself. That's how I think, body and mind think good. Even though I was feeling bad, down, or I still think good. Think about good things for myself. That's tough to keep my mind off cancer.
And just all the good food that our people here, when one is ill or when one is in need and something happens with that family, our people come together and they feed one another and they have big feasts and big dinners, and I think that's one of the strengths that our communities have here.
Don't stick by yourself. It's really hurting when you're alone. You got to share. You got to be out there with friends and not be alone. That's where you put yourself down, I think, is when you're trying to keep things to yourself.
And it's collaborating with all of our programs. It's not just about acute care nursing. It's about their mental, spiritual, physical well-being. So it's okay, I link with mental health to get their advice or their wisdom, and or working with our moms and doing a lot of prevention and screening with our younger ones to prevent or help lead a healthy lifestyle. Lots of lifestyle changes, and that's what I am so for right now, is a lot of prevention and screening workshops to help lead to a healthier lifestyle for our people and our children.
Maybe that's why I'm tough, I don't know. But it's better to live on the outside food, what God put us in this world for, to eat. Instead of junk food, all kinds of junk food. I don't eat that. Yeah, you have to eat lots of home food, not from the store and stuff like that. Well, that's the way we raise, so we can make any kind of thing we eat. But we've been had cancer. It's better for us to use our own food, like what we brought up with.
Before I was released, the nurse came in and told me that when you get home, I don't want you laying around a couch or sitting on anywhere. I want you to keep yourself busy and exercise. So when I got home, I followed her instructions. I started walking around the block. It took me 7 weeks to recover about 80% of my strength. But I walked and walked. Every day I walked. And then eventually I started walking around the village. And then by July I was walking 6 kilometers on the highway. And I did that for a whole year. And then in 2003, I upped it to 10 kilometers. So I started walking 10 kilometers a day. And during one of those walks in 2004, all of a sudden I felt very tired on the last 2 kilometers home.
Around here too, I'm very happy about some of my friends. They used to drink lots and smoke. They all couldn't quit smoking, quit drinking by themselves, and that made me feel really happy. I feel good for them. They want to live longer or something. Having cancer is no fun. No fun at all. No. Just like you live beside your coffin or your graveyard. So when people die with cancer, I don't go to the funeral. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see myself go down. That's why.
But I think maybe the hardest part about dealing with Indigenous population is knowing their pain and seeing the things that they have to go through and knowing how that feels. And being First Nations myself, knowing the barriers people face and that, there isn't always a lot of hope. And sometimes there aren't reasons to hope. And how do you, as a physician, how do you tell people to keep trying, keep fighting, take your medication, it's going to be okay? When you say that, you're focusing only on the physical because you want to ignore maybe they don't have a place to live. Maybe they don't have running water. Maybe they don't have enough money to eat. Maybe they were abused. Maybe they were sexually abused. Maybe, there's alcoholism or things in the family. Maybe people came from residential school and nobody knows how to parent, There's so many things. Maybe that's part of it. And we can't fix that.
I think there's a huge public health message that has to go out to patients to help them realize that cancer today is often a curable and a very treatable condition, and that is changed tremendously over a very short period of time. But it's more than just medications. It's more than just naturopathic ingestions. It's also the cultural practices of healing. I'm talking about the healing circle, healing interactions at many different levels, the healing potential of the community as a collective, but also individual and collective healing in the intercultural interaction between patients and their families. I think that should be encouraged. I think it should be expanded. I think we should be able at the institutional level to facilitate that.
With our Gitxsan nation here, I know in our culture, a lot of our people are very giving, and you need your family. They need to be, just to surround one, to give them all their positive and good energy. And that's what happened with my little brother. Just all the good food that our people here, when one is ill or when one is in need and something happens with that family, our people come together and they feed one another, and they have big feasts and big dinners. And I think that's one of the strengths that our communities have here.
I think we all have the responsibility, each of us, to take care of our own health. And it is through different ways. I think we try as much as we can to eat healthy. We try to do exercise. But also having the regular checkups is part of the things.
Took my whole kidney out, one side. Even now, they check on me to see if the other kidney is okay. Couldn't do any hard work on my right side because it hurts, it still hurts. Yeah, I do things, I wasn't like that when I was sick, so I do things, not hard work though. I do the things, I eat good, and not the way I was, But I'm still afraid of having that again, but I keep going to the nurses or doctors to see if I'm still okay at all.
Marie Adele, what I found interesting in her story and what I wanted to talk about was she didn't really mention about the physical stuff at all. It wasn't the surviving that was hard, was sort of the message I got from her. It wasn't the surviving that was hard, it was the functioning. And so going home and doing your regular activities and having to, haul yourself out of bed so you can do the dishes and that you can do whatever. But so the surviving of the cancer seemed to be easier than the day-to-day little activities. Like we talked about, the little things that you have to keep doing. And that was what she found difficult.
When you get cancer, some people they don't know it, but just like a warning, something, how you feel before you got cancer, that kind of feel you have, that's when you should get checked up, stuff like that. That's what I tell some people, but some of them they don't believe that, so after they get too far with cancer, too late. I'm lucky I live anyway. Could I find my cancer right away.
But on a lighter note, I'd like to tell you that because of my experiences, I noticed that some people around here were having problems on how to deal with their cancer and where to go to get help. So I went to go bug Mavis Sebastian, who was a nursing coordinator for Gitxsan Health here. I bugged her for 6 months to do a cancer awareness for our community. So we're in our 5th year, so it's been very helpful to quite a few people.
In the story work with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, the patients articulated the importance of knowing the facts about cancer and its effects on people and their entire well-being. We also heard about the many dimensions of healthy living in community, physical, mental, and spiritual, that can help prevent cancer and help with recovery from cancer. The doctors' and nurses' responses in the broker dialogue showed their desire to promote sharing knowledge about cancer and healthy living. From the story work, which issue stood out for you? Which issue stood out for you from the responses?